Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you didn't already know, my name is Ari, and hopefully you'll stick around for a quick video. So guys, today I want to talk about something that I've had thrown at me before, and that is the whole question of, is transgender a trend? So there's a lot of reasons why people throw this out, and the biggest one is really because there is growing, still not sufficient, but growing media representation. We've seen people like Laverne Cox, who has been incredibly successful and a phenomenal representative for this community. We've seen people like Jazz Jennings with her show I Am Jazz. We've even seen people like Caitlyn Jenner, who may not be the best representation, but who was a well-known figure who came out as trans. Janet Mock. I mean, I could go on and on, at least to an extent. You know, we have shows like Transparent, even though it did choose to put a cisgender man playing the part of a transgender woman, that's a different story in a different video. But a lot of these people, because of this, and because that even though we may see a political backlash right now against trans people, society is slowly starting to change, and people are starting to accept. So because of that, and because of media attention, you have those handful of people who suddenly believe that people are becoming trans because it's a trendy thing to do. They've come up with ideas like and terms like Transgender. So let's bust a few of those, okay? So if you are wondering, because you're going like a lot of people do, you know, if this has always been around, why am I just now hearing about it? Well, in large part, that's because there have been those high-profile cases of people coming out, or of you knowing that they're transgender. It's kind of like if you go and you buy a new car, and all of a sudden, after you do a test drive in that car, it seems like you see one of those cars everywhere. On every street corner, there's a car. When I got my vehicle, which I have a Jeep, I didn't see that many of them, and then it seemed like I saw every single Jeep when I went down the road the moment I bought one. Everybody did not suddenly rush and buy a Jeep because I did. It's just that my eyes were opened to seeing things that I hadn't saw before because it was fresh and on my mind. That's what's going on with the general public. There's a greater knowledge that trans people actually exist. And we have that representation, you know, to where trans people aren't only living in the shadows. You know, now a lot of us are living more publicly. We have platforms like this with YouTube that gives us that opportunity to speak and to educate. Even some, you know, nobody from, you know, out in the Midwest has a platform where they can speak to people on these issues. So you are not seeing more trans people than there were in the past. It's not creating trans people. It's that people are more so now than ever not suffering in silence. They're being more open. They're feeling more confident, because they feel that society as a whole at least has a better understanding of who we are than in the past. Trans people have always existed, but in many cases, there were trans people who either never transitioned because of the societal pressure, or they transitioned, but part of that was just totally leaving their family behind and starting over with people who never knew them before their transition. Now it's more known because a lot of us are having are feeling that we have the ability to come out openly. You know, I think about my hometown, for example. You know, my family, of course, I'm out to my family. So now my family, they know a trans person, someone that they know very well. You know, my mother, my father, my siblings, you know, all of these people now know a trans person. There are people in my community because I came out publicly on my Facebook page. So in the small little southern town that I grew up, there are people who have known me their entire life who now can say, I know a trans person. So for those who, we didn't have that years ago, before social media platforms, it wasn't quite that easy. So now people are hearing about it. It is not trendy. People who say, well, this is a trendy thing to come out as trans. Guys, seriously, if you're thinking that, please put a little bit more thought into it. You know, I'm going to get a breast augmentation. People have breast augmentation. We go on HRT. There are people who have bottom surgery. We don't go through this because it's trendy. It's actually rather painful. It is challenging. There is workplace discrimination. There are hate crimes and violence. You know, last year had a massive number of trans people who were murdered. No one is doing this because it's a new and fascinating trend. We're doing it because we see society changing. And that means that with those small incremental changes, we can finally, openly, be who we've always been privately. You know, I didn't become trans. I have been transgender since as far back as I can remember because I was assigned male at birth and I knew myself to be female. So the only thing that is new for you when you see people who suddenly come out, who become transgender, is just that we are sharing with you a truth that we have had our entire life. So no, it's not trendy. I understand why people would think that because they are seeing the representation, but it's not trendy. Life is still very, very dangerous for trans people. You know, so we still need the people that are advocating for us. We still need people to expand their understanding and to be willing to listen to our stories, to attempt to walk a mile in our shoes and understand where we're coming from. It is not a trend. It is a reality for us. We are making life-changing decisions. This is not like when some of us in the 90s went through a goth stage. It's not like when I was in high school and I had my big, huge skater pants with, 32 to 36 inch treads. If you haven't seen those, God, look up the 90s during that time frame. Scary fashion. Those were trends. They're not permanent changes. Making permanent changes to your body like this, going through therapy, going through surgeries, that is not a trend. It's a life-changing decision, and for many of us, it greatly increases our quality of life. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. I will see you again really soon when I make my next video. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button. I really appreciate all of you who have already subscribed. I'll end with my quote from Kesha: "Don't let the bastards get you down. Be yourself and be proud of who you are. You deserve to live authentically as yourself." Until the next video, guys, bye-bye.